What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, shorter show today. Let's start with my NFC North off-season grades. Going with the NFC North today. First thing I am going to start with was the winners of the division last year, the Detroit Lions. They get a B minus from me. So they do lose a bunch of firepower. You lose both coordinators who are two of the best in the sport, and Ben Johnson on the offensive side and Aaron Glenn on the defensive side. Ben Johnson takes a head coach job in Chicago. Aaron Glenn takes a head coach job with the New York Jets. You lose one of your best corners in Carlton Davis in free agency. You lose a great run blocker in Kevin Zeitler at the offensive guard position. You lose Darius Smith, who you trade for at the deadline for pass rush help. They could use pass rush help, especially with Aiden Hutchinson coming off a major injury. You do add DJ Reeves, a very good cover corner, had a really strong tandem with the Jets the last couple of years. You add some depth in the secondary with Avante Max and Rocky Sin. You didn't lose anybody that major in terms of players besides Davis and Zeitler, I guess. Those are two big pieces to lose, plus lose the coordinators. Their draft, I thought, was just okay. You took Tyler Williams, a D tackle in the first round. I don't hate the talent. I think he could be a pretty good player. I think a bit of a reach. I don't hate them taking Tate Ratledge, the guard, in the middle rounds of Georgia. I'll see how that turns out. Maybe he replaces Zeitler. They do have a very strong O-line either way, even with Zeitler leaving. You extend to Kirby Joseph, who is maybe the league's best safety. He's a dog. But to me, the Lions didn't really get any better. You could argue they even got worse. And also, Frank Ragnar retiring, I think, is a really noticeable loss. It's not being talked about enough. One of the league's best centers. What he did on the field, off the field, in the locker room as a true leader, playing through injuries pretty much every year. I think that's also a big loss. So I think the offensive line, which is still very good, they're really loaded on the offensive line. Especially when he got a coach like Dan Campbell, he's obviously going to preach that. Not super worried, but I think it definitely is taking a step back, losing both coordinators. You bring in who is it? John Morton to be the offensive coordinator. He's just kind of He was in the Jets a few years ago. Wasn't great, however, didn't have the best personnel. Only got the 1 year there. I think he was at one point was in Seattle or something like that. Last year he was the quarterbacks coach in Denver. So I'm not sure if I love that hire, and they promoted with him with the defensive coordinator position. They promoted like the linebackers coach or something. The D-line coach, Terrell Williams, would have probably gotten that promotion, went to New England to be a defensive coordinator because that's Vrabel's guy when he was in Tennessee. He brought him with him. So overall, they're probably slightly worse. Which, I mean, look, they won what, 15 games last year, so only getting a slightly worse is not the end of the world, but the rest of the division to me got substantially better. So a smidge worried about them, but their offense wasn't great, but overall they got a B minus. The Green Bay Packers get a B. They were mostly quiet, especially in free agency. I thought they did a very good job in the draft. You draft Matthew Golden in the first round for their first time they drafted the receiver in the first round in 25 years, something like that. They also took another receiver too later on, Savion Williams. You bring in Aaron Banks, bit of an overpay, but he's a solid guard to help beef up what's already a really good young offensive line. You add the Hobbs for depth in the secondary. You do lose Josh Myers on the interior, though he didn't have a great year last year. Dylan didn't even play at running back last year, so you didn't lose a whole lot. You add Banks. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that you added. You had a pretty solid draft, so it was kind of a not very eventful offseason. This is a team as long as Jordan Love is healthy. He's a good quarterback. I don't know about great. I think adding Golden in the first round is going to be really, really helpful. This is a very talented team on both sides of the ball. This is a good team. It's practically the same team coming back. Plus, you draft Matthew Golden. Plus, you add Aaron Banks on the offensive line. So they should. I mean, last year they won what, 11 or 12 games last year. The reason why they can't do that again, but their off season was kind of uneventful. I thought they could have added another edge rusher, which I would have given them a B plus or even an A. But I thought they could have added one more edge rusher. They didn't do that, but still have a lot of talent on defense. Still very talented teams. They get a B. When it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, I think they had maybe the best offseason of any team out there. So they get an A from me. I didn't do any A pluses. You re-signed a couple of key players. That includes Byron Murphy, who's a very good corner. Harrison Smith, a franchise legend, still a good safety, even though he's getting older. Aaron Jones, still a solid back. You had Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, two very good defensive tackles who can push the pocket in free agency. You had two really good interior offensive linemen and an all-pro center Ryan Kelly and one of the best young guards in the game in Will Freeze. You had depth with Jordan Mason, their running back. I think him and Aaron Jones could be a nice duo. In terms of losses, Sam Darnold, I get why you don't want to pay him the money. You drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall last year, traded up to get him. You obviously think he's good. I think he fits very well in Minnesota. You lose Cam Bynum in the secondary, however. There's a piece there when a guy you could have re-signed, but you did spend a lot of money. You can't pay everybody. I get that. Cam Robinson, who you trade for, he was only there because of the injuries you had last year. Like Patrick Jones is replaceable. You have enough off the edge. You drafted Dallas Turner last year. Obviously, you're paying Jonathan Bernard all that money. Gilmore is past his prime. Garrett Bradbury isn't great. You do take Donovan Jackson in the first round. Maybe a slight reach. However, the interior offensive line was a major concern for the Vikings, and they took care of that in the offseason. I do wish they added a little more of a secondary. The only true secondary piece they added was Isaiah Rodgers, who's just a depth piece. You lose Cam Bynum in the secondary. There's a little stuff on Gilmore, so that's definitely their main weakness. However, they overall did a great job. You addressed all the issues you had in the trenches. I think not paying Sam Darnold, although I do think he could have a solid career the rest of the way. He's still young. May end up being the right move in the long run. You for the most part, pieces you lost were pretty replaceable. Guys you were able to replace were not that big of a deal. So I think they did a great job in the offseason overall. So they get an A from me. And the Bears, I'm gonna give them the B plus. I think the Bears always win the offseason, and then something goes wrong during the season. I've said many times on the show, don't believe in the quarterback, don't believe in the new staff, don't believe in the organization, obviously. But they did a good job in the offseason for what it's worth. They re-signed T.J. Edwards, who's a very good linebacker, re-signed a good young quarterback in Kyler Gordon. The offensive line, like you trade for Joe Thuney, who's an all-pro guard, getting a little bit older, but still very good. You trade for Joe and Jackson. You brought in an all-pro center in Drew Dolman. You added two really good pieces on the defensive line, Deo Ode Ingabio, however you say his name, and Gray Jarrett, who's still a good defensive tackle. You do lose Tavon Jenkins on the interior line. However, you did replace him with all the additions that you made. You haven't re-signed Keenan Allen yet, who no one has signed, so I'm surprised because he is getting older, has injury concern, but was mostly healthy last year and had a good year, especially down the stretch. Their draft was pretty good. Colson Level, I think, was a reach and didn't make a whole lot of sense. However, he is a good player. I don't mind taking a flyer on Luka Burrow in the second round. He could be pretty good, solid slot guy. I like Shamar Turner, getting him a little bit later. So overall, any issues you have on the offensive line, you seem to have taken care of. You bring back Average, bring back Gordon, and maybe they could have added one more receiver, maybe another defensive back, but the roster is more than good enough to be competitive. The division's really brutal, so obviously I'll go into true team by team record predictions sometime in the next month or so, maybe a little sooner than that. But they overall did a good job in the offseason. They get a B plus from me. A few things we're going to cover before I take this thing out. First of all, this is not sports news, and this is a sports show, but I do want to say, rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. I'm obviously on the younger side, so I didn't grow up with him, but growing up, my dad did, so I listened to him in my dad's car growing up from when I was probably 11 years old, probably through high school. He partly got me through high school, and just a living legend. I think he deserves a shout out. This is obviously not a music show. This is a sports show, but one of the all-time great entertainers and musicians and rock and rollers. And I just want to rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. I still can't believe that he unfortunately left us yesterday. So rest in peace to one of the greats in Ozzy Osbourne. Two more things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about these Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys. What are we doing? For those who need context, here it is. What is that? Those are just dreadful. Holy mother of God. If it wasn't one thing, you had a ayahuasca enthusiast, 41-year-old broken down quarterback as your starting quarterback, and just a Lord God old roster. You put out these god awful jerseys. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? If they look familiar, you might have known some from a movie. I swear it's the same thing. The jersey that those fake football team wore and the Dark Knight Ride before Bane just annihilated the stadium. They look the same to me. Just horrible, 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 horrible. Another L taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sure they'll go 9-8 in them still, but just God, those look bad. And to close this thing out, I want to talk about Bill Goldberg. So Goldberg went on Ariel Helwani's podcast shortly after his farewell match about a week and a half ago in Atlanta at Satellite's main event. He had this to say.
Let's just say I'm pissed off at the way I went out. I mean, because I put so much into it, and I don't feel as though the effort was reciprocated to put a stamp on, what I accomplished. I'm not going to say that I'm not ecstatic about the opportunity that I got, but I was a WCW guy, man. I was. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it could be done. Could have been done a little bit differently. That's all. And I'm happy with my performance. I'm happy with the setting. But could it have been better? Absolutely. It can always be better.
And I know you mentioned this 2-week thing, but I'd be remiss if I don't ask what specifically could have been done differently. Could you tell us that?
Well, there's about 100 things. I mean, I did 3 interviews beforehand, Ariel. I did 3, right? In 6 months. It's just they cut me off 30 seconds into my speech, bro. I mean, you don't do that, but it's all good. It's all good.
Do you think that was their call or the network's call?
I think it doesn't matter because it's live television and you can plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's all. So, and I know it is what it is, and the match might have gone long, and the this and the that, and whatever it is. But I just think that it could have been it could have been a little classier prepared than it was, and I'll just say, and that's a mild understatement. Yeah, man, come on, man.
By the way, did they know that you were going to speak afterwards? Was that part of the plan?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But I never heard I was going to speak for like 28 seconds.
Right.
But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I got the opportunity to speak for 28 seconds.
How did you react when you went backstage and realized that it got cut off? Because I'm sure in the moment you think that this is airing across the world, right?
I don't care. I don't. It's not worth me. It's not worth me. I'm not going to snivel over it by any means. I got an opportunity to have it for 28 seconds. Not many people get that. But it just, everything throughout the years have built up to something like the ultimate rib. I guess that was the ultimate rib.
You think that was intentional? You think that was done on purpose?
I don't know. I'm not saying it was done on purpose by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying that it wasn't prepared for on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. So they wouldn't do that to Taker, right? I don't think they wouldn't. They're not going to do that to Cena. Cena's going around the world doing his retirement thing. Mine was just the World Heavyweight Championship match. And to be honest with you, I'm going to catch hell for. I don't care. It was a World Heavyweight. Dude, I had World Heavyweight matches all the time. That doesn't do anything for me. It does, but. Make it different than just an angle, at least at the end, and do something, say something. I don't know. It just felt a little for me. That's all. That's it. And like I said, man, I'm not here to bitch and moan because I don't do that. And I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. You asked me a question and I'm answering.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are we freaking kidding me, Goldberg? Really? Like, what is your problem? Like, you had the longest matches you've had in a long time, okay? That match was over 14 minutes, almost 15 minutes. You've had, I think, one match last over 10 minutes in your last, like, 10 or 11 matches. And that match was, like, 11 and a half, just under 12 minutes. You have a 14 and a half minute match with one of the best in the world in Gunther, and you're complaining? What are we doing? He's like, oh, well, a world title doesn't mean a whole lot to me. What do you want them to do? You are 58 years old. You have had 5 matches in the last 5 years. You're 58. You're older than my dad. That's not even an exaggeration. That's a fact. You're older than my dad. Okay? You're 58 flipping years old. What else do you want them to do? Okay? First of all, they booked this horribly. Gunther beats Jey Uso, who everyone loves. He shows up the next week on Raw. He's like, I beat Jey Uso. I told you I was better than him. You know, everyone starts chanting Goldberg. He was like, no, don't chant him. And you just come out, and they're like, we have some unfinished business because Goldberg told you 3 months ago that he likes Bret Hart. Your arch nemesis is better than you when he was growing up, and he gave your son a dirty look, and it pissed you off. And you just show up and think, oh yeah, I can get a World Heavyweight title match. Like, what are we doing? It's like, oh, they cut off my retirement page. First of all, they uploaded the whole thing to their own YouTube page. Okay? And respectfully, of course, no one cares about you in 2025. No WWE fan, at least under the age of probably 50, wants to hear you talk for 10 minutes. He said, oh, they would have done to John Cena. You're not John Cena. John Cena is the greatest of all time. Okay, he's 50 years old and he's doing it better than a lot of the guys in their prime. Like, oh, they wouldn't do that to Undertaker. Undertaker is one of the all-time greats. Respectfully, of course, you may be a Hall of Famer, but you're not John Cena or The Undertaker. You're just not. It's not even a knock on him. He's a legend. He mentions always a WCW guy. That's nothing to do with anything. Yes, WWE and WCW were at war, literally at war. They call it the Monday Night Wars for years in the 90s. Okay? The main guy involved in that with WWE does not work for their company anymore. Okay? Like, what are you talking about? Triple H was like at the very beginning of his career as a wrestler. He's retired from full-time competition for probably a solid 10 years. He physically hasn't been able to wrestle in 3 or 4 years. He's been the head of creative now for 4 years. He has nothing to do with that. He doesn't care. Nick Khan wasn't involved. That happened. Like, what are you talking about? I wasn't prepared for on purpose. Like, I didn't like the way I went out. So go, I'm not complaining. You're literally complaining. You literally agreed to go on Ariel Helwani's show just to complain about your farewell match, okay? Okay, shut up and get out. Okay, go retire. In fact, when if his son wants to get into wrestling, I know his son's playing college football. He says that's his main goal, but his backup plan's wrestling. I could see the WWE be like, I don't know if I want Gage Goldberg to be in our company. I wouldn't be surprised. So, what a clown response by Goldberg. Go away. Honestly, Bret Hart was right. He was 100% right. You injured a referee during the match. Just get out. Goodbye. Bret Hart was right. Go home. Okay, get out. That's my rant on Goldberg. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.